You're listening to GIGI Radio,
the one and only Christian radio show for teen girls.
with your hosts, Esther and Steph. Good morning, girls. It's Esther here.
Hey girls, and it's Steph, and we are now in November.
That is just scary.
Next month is the end of 2022, and then we start a whole new year. That's crazy.
Too quick. I just want to hold on a little bit longer. So, girls, what's been happening on our side, Steph?
Well, we know that we have our little Gigi bookshop is actually growing. It is
Yes.
so exciting, girls. We've sent out the sneak peek for the gratitude journal that we've been working on. We hope you've had a click and had a bit of a look. We've loved it. We had great feedback. So that's there. We've got our Giselle novel that's ready to get bought. Plus it's online if you want it online. But yeah, our little bookstore is growing.
Yes. We also have books for kids. So if you have siblings or little cousins or little nephews, you can go and check it out because there's some amazing stuff for them as well.
Yes. Now, the artist of the week this week is actually John Reddick. I hadn't heard his music before, but I really liked it, and the words are beautiful. So we hope you enjoy him this month, girls.
Never heard of him.
No.
I'm looking forward to
yeah.
that. I haven't even listened to his songs. Also, verse of the month is found in 2 Thessalonians 3:16, and I'm reading from the ERV version, and he says, "We pray that the Lord of peace will give you peace at all times and in every way. The Lord be with you all." That is such
That
a
is
lovely...
beautiful. I love that. Now, girls, for the next 3 weeks, we're actually going to be talking about mental health. And that is such a huge thing at the moment for everyone, you know. So today's actually, it's about anxiety. Then we have burnout and stress, technology addiction, or just addiction in general. And we've had some ladies who've actually been through these, mental health issues. And they're going to share their experience with us. You know, maybe you've been through it as well, are going through it at the moment. But then we also are going to have a professional answer one of these mental health conditions that is actually really helpful. I got to listen to them and wow, they're so good.
So did I.
Yeah, just amazing. So they're going to answer a few questions, give us tips. And I think it's going to be a really great month.
And also at the end of the month, so on the 4th week, we're going to cover the same 3 topics like anxiety, burnout and stress, and addiction. And we're going to cover the spiritual part. So these 3 weeks are more of the
I want to say
physical?
clinical, but it's not. But you know what I
Yes.
mean. It's more, yeah.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoy it. The first one is Patty, who is going to share her experience with anxiety when she was a teen. And so we'll listen to that and then we'll go to the next section.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Patty Gillespie. What was my experience with anxiety? It was difficult. It was difficult to function, to focus on my studies, or to get up in the morning. I live often in fear. I would worry that something was going to happen to me, worry that I could not complete my schoolwork, or worry that I was not good enough. It was hard. I felt tired. A lot of the time, I just felt like I wanted to sleep. I was worried, constantly worried. I wasn't able to control my fear. I was nervous and tense, and I would often cry. I think I was around 12 or 13 years old. It was my first day of high school, and I remember I could not control my tears. I was sitting in the classroom, and I felt so nervous, anxious. I wasn't able to control my emotions in front of people, strangers. I was so scared. It actually affected my schoolwork because it was difficult to concentrate. When I was at school, I wasn't able to concentrate much. So when it was time for me to hand in my schoolwork, I wasn't able to put words together, how I was, able to overcome it. A lot of the time it was to prayer. I remember talking to God and asking him, please, Lord, take this away from me. It's just too much. But also talking to others help. Talking to people, it made you realize that you're not alone, there are others out there that still that struggle as well. And they can quickly say, you know what, I do suffer from anxiety myself. So once you start talking to others, you quickly discover that, your feelings that you have, others have it as well. Talking to people was one of them, how I was, able to overcome it. But I also listen to music. Music has been a really important part of my life, and it's so encouraging. A lot of the times the lyrics, you're able to hear the lyrics, and that helps you, motivates you. It creates something positive within your mind. I'm blessed to say it's been a few years now, and I think that as you get older, you're able to read well a lot of the signs and your emotions. So I try to self-care. What does it mean? What do you think self-care means? Well, to me, self-care is listening to music, pray, read positive quotes. And now I paint. A lot of the times I'm in my room and I'm painting, I'm creating, I'm just getting my emotions out. Somehow it's important to get your emotions out. I actually love reading Psalms, all the books from Psalms, all the book of Psalms. I like it. I guess because I know that King David had the same struggle as I did as well, or as I have in the past. And one of my favorite, Bible verse is Psalms 121, 1-2. I'll lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker, the heavens and the earth. Wow. To me, that gives me a lot of encouragement. It gives me a lot of encouragement to know that whenever in these deep moments, that I know that I can actually raise my head up, look up, and know that, there's someone out there that is actually looking after me, the maker of the universe, the maker of this planet, of, where we live. He's able to be there. He is my refuge. If I'm going to say something, I would say, know you are beautiful and wonderfully made. You are the daughter of the King who made the heavens and the earth. He will never leave you and he will never forsake you. You need to remember you're not alone on this. Your symptoms are this just something that it's important to understand that you've got them, but it does not take you from a day-to-day expectations. So what I'm trying to say is that if you feel that you need to speak to somebody else about it, please do. Don't close yourself. Don't close those emotions. Try to tell somebody, a good friend, your mom or your parent, your auntie, your grandmother, whoever that might be, that safe place that you can go to. Speak to them about your feelings, your emotions. It's important to let them go and know that you're not the only person out there. There's many of us who have gone through it or are going through it. And know that somebody else is praying for you as well.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Patty, for, being brave and sharing your story. It's not easy to say what we've been through.
No, it's not.
But I love how you, put God in it and how you've come through, which is great.
And gotten that help and had that support as well. But now, girls, we have our expert, our professional who's going to talk to us a little bit about anxiety.
But before we go to our expert, we have a song today.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. So our song is, so we said this month, John Reddick and his God Turn It Around.
I'm praying God come and turn this thing around. God turn it around. God turn it around. God turn it around. I'm calling on the name that changes everything, yes. God turn it around. God turn it around. God turn it around. All of my hope is in the name of Jesus. Breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. I'm praying God come and turn this thing around. Oh yes, God turn it around. God turn it around. God turn it around. I'm calling on the name that changes everything. Oh yeah, yeah. God turn it around. God turn it around. God turn it around. 'Cause all of my hope is in the name of Jesus. Breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. God turn it around. God turn it around. God turn it around. Oh, God turn it around. God turn it around. God turn it around. He is up to something. He is up to something. God is doing something right now. He is up to something. He is up to something. God is doing something right now. He is healing someone. He is saving someone. God is doing something. Oh, right now. He is healing someone. He is saving someone. God is doing something right now. Right now. He is moving mountains, making a way for someone. God is doing something right now. Right now. He is moving mountains, making a way. Yeah, God is doing something right now. Right now. He is moving mountains, making a way for someone. God is doing something right now. All of my aim is in the name of Jesus. Say breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. All of my hope is in the name. Say the name of Jesus. Say breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. God turn it around, turn it around. Oh, oh, oh. God turn it around, turn it around, turn it around.
Hello, my name is Gianna Lucas and I'm the co-founder and CEO at HAPOW. It's a gamified e-learning life skills platform for youth. I'm also a workshop facilitator, motivational speaker, and youth life coach. And all of these things, I just love each of my roles so much because I just love working with young people. And a big reason for that is because I myself, growing up in primary school, experienced a debilitating anxiety disorder, and it was quite chronic too because I had it for several years, and once a fortnight worked with a clinical psychologist to help me sort myself out and trying to learn the triggers and understanding a little bit more about why I was so nauseous, because I would often end up finding myself vomiting before going to school or going to the shops, essentially being around situations I couldn't control, was really debilitating for me because it caused my body just to flare up. But I remained such an optimistic person and had faith and was a really creative soul. And so I found ways to work through my anxiety. And at the start of grade 6, after several years, it really was a miracle. I found that all my nausea had left my body. I still experience though anxiety, even as an adult, but it's definitely a lot more manageable. Whereas that nausea that I had that was so strong for so long had left. And it meant that I was able to really continue to do the things that I loved and enjoyed, which I'll get into shortly. So I believe anxiety, I mean, it's different for everyone, but I would say it's that feeling, that stressful feeling where you feel like something's going to go wrong. You know, that uneasiness you feel in your body. In my case, when I was younger, it was my body getting really, really nauseous, and that persistent worry and fear in everyday situations, which, as you know, I've had very much lived experience in. And you know, it can really come out in various different ways. But for myself, you know, going to school, doing a test, the shops is really for me where it really came to the forefront. But it was that more persistent fear and worry of everyday situations, like I said. So there's really three main types of anxiety disorders particularly. One of them is called generalized anxiety disorder, so commonly known as GAD, and that can really occur at any age. And symptoms, like I was alluding to just before, could be that feeling of worry, you know, restlessness. It could also affect your concentration in day-to-day activities. And then there's also obsessive compulsive disorder, so OCD. And you might hear people talking a little bit about it, even casually saying, oh, I've got OCD. But it actually is a legitimate, real disorder. And when someone genuinely has it, they can get these unreasonable thoughts and fears, which become obsessions that lead to compulsive behaviors. So someone might, for example, be really fearful of germs, certain germs, particularly during the pandemic. And so they get really, really anxious around maybe sanitizing their hands more than the required amount because of that fear of getting a type of, you know, condition or whatever it might be, or getting sick. And then there's panic disorders as well. So panic disorders are a little bit like an anxiety disorder, but particularly it leads to really sudden attacks of panic and fear, literally in the body. So in my case, for example, when I was younger in primary school, I would get bursts of nausea just out of the blue. And that was my body literally panicking because of a stressful situation that I was going to. So it's a body's natural response to a stressful or dangerous situation, or what the body deems to be, or the brain deems to be, a dangerous situation. Common symptoms of anxiety, there's so many of them, but obviously feeling nervous, having nausea, restlessness, maybe being really tense. I know that when I'm highly stressed, for example, or feeling anxious, my body just starts to tighten up and my muscles just tighten and become like bricks, and that's how they feel in my body. But also having a sense of impending danger or panic or doom, and just that feeling of worry that just becomes really, really consuming. Another one is also having an increased heart rate, which can also happen when you've got a panic attack and things like that. I know for myself, again, growing up, when I was nauseous, of course, my heart rate was higher because I was freaking out at the time. Also, a really common thing is breathing rapidly. So rather than taking those slow, deep breaths, your breathing pattern starts to escalate, become more frequent. Sweating is another big one. You know, the body literally trembling. There's feeling really, really weak in the body. Like sometimes you might find that ultra fatigue and you're just like, oh, and you're in a slump because your body's going through that state of shock and, you know, that type of tiredness. And then, like I sort of said earlier, that trouble concentrating where you're just focused on the things that you're worried about, you can't really focus on anything else other than what's in front of you and that fear that's in front of you. So yeah, trouble concentrating as well. What is an anxiety attack? So really, it's that freak out moment where you realize that all is going badly in your mind and you think that all is lost. So you might find that you get that rapid, fluttering, pounding feeling of your heart, like heart palpitations, shortness of breath. You might get tightness in your chest, and I've also had lived experience of that. There's various things that can cause an anxiety attack to take place, but it's literally when your anxiety, that feeling of dread and worry, starts to attack the body. And that's when your body starts to lock up and do various different things. But it's sometimes you want to also avoid those situations in your mind. But the reality is that when you're having an anxiety attack, sometimes it is a little bit difficult to come out of it. But there are really great things you can do to help you, which I'll get to just in a second. What causes anxiety? There's a lot of things that can cause anxiety, and I think there's things like school, having different assignments due or tests coming up that can cause anxiety, particularly if you think that you may not do as well as you hope to, or if you've got a few of them, that can be really triggering. Even things at home, for example, maybe you've had a loss of a loved one, or you've been sick, or you've got maybe difficult relationship dynamics at home or within friendships. These things can all cause elements of anxiety. And, there's also more serious things too. I'm not saying the others aren't serious, but for example, a traumatic event, which like losing a loved one or witnessing something that's quite horrific, absolutely, that can cause a lot of trauma, and then anxiety can come out of that as well. So it's just really being mindful of those things that can happen in your life, to say it's okay to be uncomfortable with certain things that have happened in your past, but to not hate on yourself for it, because sometimes we go through life and we experience things that are really hard, and it's okay because so many of us do, but it's how we actually go about dealing with these things that makes all the difference. What is a treatment for anxiety? Well, the things that you can do that I think can really help when you're feeling anxious or stressed is just take some time out, if you can, to just take a couple of deep breaths. And that is one of the biggest things I can recommend. For example, there's this great tool called box breathing technique, and it's where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, and then you breathe out for 4. And it's imagining your brain looking at a line going across horizontally, then down vertically, then again horizontally, and then up, making a square. And it creates a box. That's one great thing you can do. Another thing as well is if you put some ice cubes, like an ice cube in each of your hands, it's another way of resetting the brain to focus away from the thoughts in the brain and focus on the coldness of your what's in your hand. Also, leaning against a wall as well can be really helpful, because walls are generally pretty cold, and just having that coolness against the body can really, really help. And also doing those breathing exercises at the same time. Another thing I recommend too is listening to music. That is such a really healing thing to do. Songs that empower you, that relax you, that calm you. I actually have a playlist on my own phone that actually is called Calm. And it's just songs that I really love, that are very meditative, if that's the word, and just help me to just chill and not be too overwhelmed or stressed. And obviously there's meditation, and there's fantastic apps out there, both paid and free, that you can tap into. Getting a massage, if you like that type of thing. I know for myself, I really like getting a massage. I don't get them enough, but I know that they're really helpful. And just other relaxation techniques that work for you, as well as energy boosting snacks and food, because some people, when they're stressed or anxious, they might eat more and others may eat less. And some people might even skip meals because there's just other things going on in the brain and they just don't want to deal with the food, element. But it's really important to eat consistently, have a well-balanced diet, and really eat things that are going to make you feel good. So energy boosting foods are whole foods, not all these processed foods, but things that actually are going to give you vitamins and minerals that you need to boost your energy levels. And really important to get enough sleep. So for teenagers, for example, it is recommended by sleep researchers to actually get 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night. But on average, most teens will only get 6 to 6.5 hours to 7.5 hours of sleep per night. So if you're not getting enough sleep per night on a consistent basis, that's just going to well and truly add up and be detrimental to your health and well-being, because the body needs to be able to rest and recalibrate overnight so that it's got more energy the next day. You don't want to be able to deplete yourself from that. Exercising daily is a really, 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 really important thing to do. Now, I'm not the most fittest, the most energetic kind of gym junkie person. But for me, I really love going out for walks, getting some vitamin D, not rushing it, just being mindful, listening to music, listening to a podcast, or just not listening to anything at all, and taking my dog to get some exercise. It's just so, so beautiful in the daylight. But I also love my treadmill. I find that really, really helpful as well, because my mind can start imagining things and having a bit of fun and, listening to music whilst on the treadmill. And I've already shared with you, as I said, those really important to do those breathing exercises. Another thing that I really want to share is aim for progress and not perfectionism, because a lot of the anxiety we feel comes from the fact that we are wanting to achieve something or experience a particular idea of whatever it is in our mind. And that idea in our mind might be a little bit unrealistic and really, really challenging to achieve or experience. So we beat ourselves up, and then we go into a spiral of further anxiety because we're not getting to where we want to be. And so if we're instead disregarding perfection, because perfection is impossible, like you will never actually ever, I don't think anyone on this planet could ever be perfect. There's flaws in each and every one of us, and that's not a bad thing. So if you're aiming to progress in something in life and learn and grow, rather than having to achieve this perfectionism which doesn't exist, is a really, really encouraging thing to do as well. And again, just coming off that, really trying to put things into perspective, because one thing that I find super helpful, and something I also share, is doing a risk assessment. So a worst case scenario assessment versus a best case scenario assessment. What does that mean? It means to figure out what's the worst thing that can happen in this situation that I'm confronted with, and what's the best thing that can happen. And then deciding which one's the most accurate, because sometimes we blow up things in our mind as being reality when it actually isn't. And to further describe this more, the word fear, which often are the things that we are scared of, is really, and I remember a mentor of mine sharing this with me, fear means false evidence appearing real. Now, that's obviously not the actual definition, but it's about reframing the word that's kind of scary. The word fear isn't a fun word, but if we look at fear as false evidence appearing real, then suddenly we've got this newfound perspective of going, hang on, then maybe our fears aren't really reality. They're a false idea in our mind that we've created that we're starting to believe. So by doing this worst case scenario versus best case scenario situation and doing this assessment, you'll probably actually find that your greatest fear is potentially something you really want in your life, maybe something you want to achieve, and it just scares you. And so it's that false evidence appearing real in front of you. So don't give up, keep going. Another thing I recommend, I know I've got a few here, is give back. Get involved in something that you're passionate about, an initiative. I'm so passionate about volunteering. I've been volunteering since I was a teenager, and I still do it at age 31. And for me, I find volunteering just gets you out of your own headspace, helps you see that what you can do for others is such a beautiful thing, and helps to create perspective in your life. It's just really important to do. Another thing is journaling. Writing down things that you're grateful for each day provides perspective. If you're having a bad day, write down and get it out of your head. Some of those things that you've got playing in your mind, and get it on paper, and imagine that you're throwing it away, or imagine yourself putting it into a filing cabinet and allowing your brain to rest, because sometimes when it's sitting in the brain, it can be really challenging and triggering, but when you've got it out on paper, it's like a release. It's a really, really powerful tool. And finally, it's really important to also reach out to a family member, to a friend, to a mentor, a school teacher, someone that you rely on, that you know are safe and that love you and want the best for you and you have a great relationship with. Because if people don't know what they don't know, people can't help you if they don't know what you're going through. You could probably think, oh, why is this person not understanding me? But the reality is that a person can only do what they can do with the resources they have and their understanding that they have. So open up their heart and mind to what you are going through so they can support you in the best way they can to help you with what you need. And of course, you can always seek a professional help. I'm very passionate about getting professional help. As you know, I saw a clinical psychologist for several years, once a fortnight. And even in my adulthood, I see a counsellor on a fairly regular basis, depending on what my needs are. And I just find that these amazing human beings are professional. They've gone through these years of training and they have a heart to support you. So when you find that right person that is a professional that can help you as a therapist, my goodness, it will be really, really, really great, I promise, because I've had the same experience. What things can I do now that can help my body recover and strengthen? And I think this is a really, really great question. And I've kind of touched on it in the previous ones, but immediately something that you can do to strengthen your body and your mind, because remember, your brain is a muscle, just like the muscles are in your calves and, in your arms. And for goodness, you can tell I don't know all the muscles, but your brain is one and it's important to train it, right? So, doing those breathing exercises, getting regular exercise, heading around, out and about, not being sedentary all day, not sitting down, moving your body. If you're doing a lot of homework or whatever, don't sit there for hours on end or look at your phone hours on end. That is not helpful. Like getting some vitamin D, getting out in nature can be really, really helpful. As well as I said, the journaling and all these different things you can do can really help you recover. Having a bath, like a warm bath, or putting a heat pack on, or even a cold pack, whatever it might need, it's amazing how the body can recover to reduce stress. So it's able to get stronger and stronger every day. I just want to firstly thank you for listening to this podcast, because it's just so wonderful that there are great resources out there like this to help you. It means that you're passionate about your own health and wellness, and you care about, where you're going in life and the people around you as well. It's important to keep that at the top of your mind and to reward yourself for taking the time to invest in you and your personal development. I'd also just say be kind to yourself, because each and every day when we go through life, we're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. That is the nature of life. We've got to be really kind to ourselves, because sometimes, as I said, perfection doesn't exist. And if we're just aiming for progress, aiming to just get better and grow each and every day, but also be kind to ourselves if we have to take a few steps backwards, because those small steps in life that we take what actually makes all the difference, rather than these leaps that we think we have to venture on, because they're sometimes really hard to get to, but those little steps every day can make all the difference in the long run. And you'd love to learn more about how to grow your personal development and your life skills, you can head to hapow.com and learn all about the great resources we have on there as well. Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you so much, Gianna. And girls, we hope that you've well, I want to say enjoy, but you know what I mean. You've
learned something.
Yeah, you've learned, and you can relate and get some great tips on what to do if you are suffering from anxiety.
And don't forget that the best person we can talk to is God. Bring all your burdens to Him, and He will give you the peace that you need. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you that we can find peace with you, and thank you that you are always taking care of us, even when we feel our darkest. I ask, Lord, that you bless each of the girls that are listening to this podcast. Give them your peace. Give them your keep them safe under your wings. And I just ask that they have a wonderful new week. In your name I ask, Amen.
This has been GIGI Radio signing out.